final segment of this video, let's talk about accuracy. Why you would want to build this rifle. So the story behind this rifle is that I wanted to build a rifle that I could shoot FTR with. I could learn to read the wind. I've been shooting at 300 yards pretty regularly. It had been getting kind of boring, so I wanted a rifle that I could hone my skills at longer ranges, that I could trust, that I knew the ballistics would get me there, and eventually I'd be able to use it in a competitive environment. My options at the time, because I don't have a crazy amount of money to dump on a rifle, was to buy a Savage Model 12 FTR, which out of the box, people have used them to compete. The really good ones from the factory will shoot pretty competitively with some of the custom build rifles. The worst ones from the factories don't. So I wanted a rifle that I knew would be good. And when I started pricing things out, I realized that with a Savage precision target action, so you eliminate the cost of having to gunsmith put the rifle together, that I could actually build a rifle with a higher quality barrel than what the Savages came from the factory, and a better stock than what the Savages came from the factory, for about the same amount of money. Originally I was looking at some of the LRPV stocks. They're laminate stocks with cheek risers and aluminum bedding blocks that I was planning to glass bed the whole thing. I knew I could get a hold of either a Shylin or a Criterion match barrel pretty reasonably, the low 300s. And then it was just a matter of getting a hold of the action. And when I was originally looking, actions were in the 400 to 450 range, but I don't know if Savage has decreased their production or something like that, but they're hard to get a hold of when I actually order them, and it's a bit more expensive. So the Savage Model 12 FTR, you could buy one new for about $1,250 or $1,300, which seemed like a reasonable amount of money to me. This rifle that I built, which I know shoots, and I think it shoots better than the factory Savage Model 12s do. The stock, ignoring the stock for a second, the barrel and the action and a precision ground recoil lug and a precision ground barrel nut, which I'm not really sure I actually needed, but it was just one less variable in the equation, and they weren't that expensive. Those two items were about $1,000 even. So $560 for the action, $330 or $340 for the barrel, then like $60 for the recoil lugs plus taxes plus shipping, came out to be about $1,000 even. I think it's like $980 or something like that. So that left me about a budget about $300 for the stock that matched the price of a Model 12. Or if I were to bump the price up a little bit, because if I got a Model 12, I would have replaced the stock anyways. The LRPV stocks were about $450, but I was having a really hard time getting a hold of one or finding one for sale. And a lot of people, so the other part of the story is that, I'll talk about it when I bought the Grendel, but the other part of the story is that I wanted to put the rifle together as quickly as possible. I was sick of waiting for gun shop sellers or part sellers, accessory sellers, or whatever sellers jerking me around. So I wanted one that I could get in hand. And in the case of the LRPV, they were so back-ordered. You didn't say they were back-ordered, but people within the current year said they're so back-ordered that it took them 6 months to a year to 18 months to get their stocks. And I really wasn't willing to wait for that. So this Macmillan A5 was about $700, which is a fair price. I reused one of my Harris bipods. The scope was about $800, about an $800 scope. So all told, this rifle in the ballpark without the optic was about $1,700, which is not a crazy amount more than the Savage, but this is exactly the rifle I wanted in a much, much nicer stock with a nicer barrel. And I know for a fact this rifle shoots. 20 MOA canted rail is included in that $1,700 price, with everything, including the rings and the scope, it was about $2,500 or $2,600. And I'll talk about the accuracy for a sec and try to explain why this makes sense. There are rifles out there that will guarantee 3-shot groups in half minute of angle for $3,500. There are rifles that will guarantee quarter minute of angle for, depending on the maker, it might be $3,500. It might be, in the case of something like Gunworks, might be $7,000 or $8,000. This rifle, put together, $2,500 with optic. This piece of cardboard was my load development workup. So these are not being shot for groups. These are being shot so that I could eliminate things that I was testing with and hone in on a good load. So these are 3-shot groups. These are 155 grain Sierra Match King Palma bullets. This is the low charge weight, slowly increasing in charge weight, and you can see these are pretty damn small groups. That's a 3-shot group, that's a 3-shot group, that's a 3-shot group. These were shot consecutively, so the barrel was warming up. And the nicest thing about this group, this set of groups, let's see if I can get my calipers out and not drop all the batteries, is that the groups shrank the hotter the load was. So edge to edge, extreme spread, 0.575 inches. So subtract 0.264. So the center to center would be 0.31 MOA for this group. Well, 0.341 inches at 100 yards. It'd be actually smaller in terms of MOA. This group, edge to edge, 0.425, so 0.43 inches edge to edge. So subtract again 0.64, you're down to a 0.16 inches at 100 yards. So that's basically a 0.15-ish MOA group at 100 yards. That's much better than what a lot of these guarantees are offering. There's another group, this one, 0.65 edge to edge. This one would be a 0.39 MOA group. And again, these aren't tuned loads. These are loads that I were just testing with. I hadn't tested seating depth yet. These are just powder charge loads being tested. These are some of the first loads out of the barrel. Then you can see the workup as we continue on. Seating depth changes. Further away from the lands. Consistent where they are on the lands. Further away from the lands. So this is really close to the lands. 3-shot group. These are the 168 grain boat tail hollow points. Hornady boat tail hollow points. You can see pretty consistent. Low charge weights, tiny groups. Low charge weights, tiny groups. Increased charge weights, groups get bigger. But even these aren't big groups. These are still pretty small groups. This one, edge to edge, this is the biggest group it shot, 3-shot group. 1.16, so 0.9 MOA, or 0.9 inches at 100 yards. 3-shot group. With the absolute worst load it was shooting. So, putting this aside, the reason why I was doing this kind of load development, load workup, is because I had to qualify this rifle, 5-shot group under an inch at 100 yards, so that I could shoot it at the range that I can compete on. 1,000-yard, multi-distance 1,000-yard range. So I brought in some 168 grain bullets, and this was just an arbitrary load I pulled. This is my practice ammo. And I shot my 5-shot group. Let me see how easily you can see. Kind of hard to see because of the flickering. signed and dated by their RSO, half MOA group out of just arbitrary loads. And I think that's all I have to say about it.